Hey everyone, this is Tracy with Color Me This. We're on episode 247, working in romantic country, doing a daily color big today, working on this wood area. We've got two pieces of wood to work on. We've got the broom, whatever it is that is, I am making it wheat colored. And then we will move on to making our shelves dark. I am sure we will have some time for that. I am doing this ahead of time. I will disclose that because I am sure tomorrow is going to be, it's probably going to be a boring day, but it'll be a very distracting, noisy day. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this colored up today to get it loaded up, and we'll schedule it for tomorrow. So our colors I'm going to work with today is a full range of light to dark. We're introducing from when I worked on the chair. I have got a couple of more colors. I have 69 that I did not use. I will be using that for sure over here on the bristles of the broom. And then 93, 20, and 117 I did use, and then I've inserted a middle brown 23. So the tips of these are all pretty sharp. The cream has not been sharpened yet, and I'm not sure if I want it to be sharpened. I figure that I am going to be doing some burnishing to get the tooth of the paper filled in, and then I want to then go back over with dark again. I don't want this chair any darker, so I am basically like finishing it off, committing it, so that I don't end up making it any darker than it already is. And then I did stop right here in the front. I didn't add as much of the detail as I had done with the legs and the back. So I will be finishing those bits off as well. So, as I had just finished the previous episode, the wind has picked up now. It is still the day before the hurricane is going to arrive, but we still have some blustery weather already here. The wind right now is 22 miles an hour, and I don't know that it will get much windier than that until tomorrow. Probably in the middle of the night it'll start. We'll get the outer bands of the wind starting to pick up for us. It is many, many hours away at this point. Still many hours away from landfall. We're on the East Coast, called the Space Coast. Yeah, I like the warming up. I did grab this because I wanted to make sure that this had a nice honey hue to it. Okay, so I am going to grab 117 because I would like to, here, I'm going to try to get the whole chair so I can add a few more. And it might not be, see how it's orangey? Look at the color of this tip. The color I really want is 23. So here is 117 is on the right and 23 is on the left, and I actually want the darkest. I really like how this wood grain came out, and I would like to darken that up a little bit with the honey, that yellow tone, but not quite yet. I'm going to work on getting some better wood grain going so that all, like, I like this wood grain here. There's a little knot there. I can even emphasize the knot. And then over here, I haven't really, like, I can make that sort of a knot. And then the way I have the demarcation from the front to back is the shadow, which I'm going to darken now. This the feeling when you've used up the tooth with these pencils is such a lovely, it does not turn slick. You can still add layers over the top, even when you have filled in all the tooth, which is great. Some pencils have so much binder that it gets this waxy finish and doesn't allow you to do any more. The Couleurs do that. The Brutfuner do not. I have not had this over waxiness finish with either the Brutfuner 520s or these squares. All right, so now we're getting some nice shadows in there. I do have, I think, some nice wood grains going on this particular side of the back. Not as much as on that side, so I'm going to work a little bit more, even things up. I love that when she drew, or when Eriy draws, she's very natural, so her shapes aren't regimented and, oops, and that's a very, look how dark that one line came out. I hope I will be able to soften that with my yellowish color. Okay, so wood grain is interesting. This is a piece of, a solid piece, and I'm not sure if my wood grain is really going horizontal. It's the way I'm making it, and yes, it's maybe not totally correct for realism, but I'm just giving it the hint of wood grain. Not as much wood grain as the legs and the back. All right, so these are soft lines, and I'm rotating my pencil so that I get just the pointiest, thinnest lines. I'm being nondescript on this part. I don't want to conflict and make my grains go a different direction, so I'm just trying to make it pretty smooth. All right, I like it. Now I need to go back to my 69 creamy color and smooth these out a little more. Darken up this front a bit. This is medium to heavy pressure. Okay, I'm going to call that chair done. It is now going to be my guide for the broom handle and the rake. It might be that I will end up making the broom handle and rake like a little darker. We will see how much I want to vary that. I'm starting with a non-committal color of 20, which is the lightest tone. Just going very soft. Slowly going to build up. I'm going to go ahead and build up both the rake and the broom, and I think you can see all of both of them. I might move them to the middle more. It's a little easier. I'm left-handed, so when you see me shifting things to the left, it means that I'm struggling a little bit with reaching across, like this is reaching across my front, and I want to avoid that because that adds strain to my wrist and hands. So I also try to keep everything in the center of the camera. I use a setting called center focus. It does mean when I'm a little bit off with the angle. I'm not at a table. I'm actually sitting with a clipboard on my lap, so my angles vary, which means some days I get really good flat, even plane between, parallel plane between the camera lens and the book, and other times it's not so close. So what I think I'm going to do here, is this the 20? 23. I might try 117. 117. And we're going to just this is like feather soft. I love the sepia colored ink that this book was printed in. It's lovely. And it even is pixelated, so it varies from light to dark. The dark of a black thick line coloring book I am not as drawn to. That is what I love a lot about the romantic country book. So this is a little smoother. It's not going to have as much of a detailed wood grain. It's not as windy anymore. $117, again, this is a little bit warmer of a brown. It's all about playing with the browns. 23. I have another dark, the color, if you're curious, the color of the bricks, that's 114. And it actually is one of the closest colors to the print ink color. Yeah, so Hub is, he took a nap after doing his cooking frenzy. I don't know if I said everything he made. He made tuna casserole, the cold style. My mom used to make a tuna casserole dinner style. This is a cold, like for picnics kind of style. We use yellowfin tuna that we have found here at the Walmart. It is absolutely fantastic and very reasonably priced. It feels very gourmet for the $2.13 we pay for the can. It's called Tonino, Tonnino, I believe. Oh, and I hear a door. We'll see if they're coming this way or if they're walking the dog. So, luckily the screen, when you go through into the screen room, the door slams hard so you can hear it. That was their RV door closing. You don't hear it, nor what's funny is I can hear the wind, although it's pretty quiet right now compared to what it was. But without all the normal outside sounds happening of people coming and going, I can hear the trailer door open and close. It's their first day of actually it being cool enough here to have the door open. The rig is under cover. It's under a port, so they're protected from the rain. So they were able to have their door open. So that was pretty cool. I told them, the fall is coming. It's like weeks away, and they just a few weeks away, and everything will change here and become cool enough that you can have doors open. So a little bit smoother wood. leaving some little highlights. Dark for the rake handle that's behind. I do have, this is 114. So let's say I wanted to cool it down. This is pretty warm, orangey looking on to my eye. So if I don't want it to be as orangey, this is more of a sepia tone. Little tiny crumb. There it is, gone. This is a lovely smooth paper. Oh, I do hear them. They're probably coming in. I might have to stop. We'll see. No, they're still out there. Probably getting stuff loaded up to come in here. I told them to bring all of their supplies for an overnight stay. I need the rake behind to be significantly darker to add the depth I want. I think I'm going to leave them like that for now. Notice I did no wood tone at all. Wood grain. I'm going to smooth out what we've got here. Might do a little bit more wood layering. I want them to look aged and used. I want the rake to be darker than the broom. Oh, and there they are. I'm going to pause. All right, many hours have passed. The hurricane has made landfall in Sarasota. Our wind is picked up. Everybody's off to bed. Even Hub went to bed. He got really tired. So I am sitting here finishing this episode. This again is episode 247. I was working on the wood of the handles. I have my pencils here, and then as soon as I finish doing some final tweaks to the broom here, I am going to move on to the dark shelves. And then I think I am going to finish up our time. I kind of didn't even look to see. I was at about 15, 16 minutes maybe. And then I will move on to do a little bit of the green, the ivy, and the wisteria, as I am calling it. Tried to keep the handles a little bit different, colored with the darker rake and the back, a little bit lighter of the broom handle on the front. I think I would like to darken the handle a little bit on the broom in the area. I was just beginning to do that, I believe, with 114 at, one hand would be up here somewhere. So let's darken this area. Kind of give it a more worn look. Everyone's going to miss all this exciting wind. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm not coloring. I posted actually a picture on the community tab of where I moved the recliners for our company, my parents, to be able to sit down here and have this great view. It's really dark. We do have a floodlight, which is a nice powerful floodlight, so it makes it look more interesting. And we have these oak trees. And I see now in the dark that one of the branches is quite dead looking in the dark. It doesn't have all the little green leaves. So it'll be interesting to see if when the wind picks up, if it ends up breaking off or not. I see that according to the weather, our highest wind is going to be 48 miles an hour. That seems pretty low. I was expecting more like in the 70s. It's supposed to be 100, down to 100 or 90, maybe 90 before it hits Orlando. So I was really expecting a little bit more excitement than what I am seeing. Rainfall is supposed to be 2 to 4 inches here, and it's only 3/4 of an inch. And it's not raining. It hasn't rained for many hours. It's just all wind. So I hope I am adding a reasonable amount of aging here. And I'm looking through the camera lens to see if the back rake is looking sufficiently darker. I have not decided the rubber boot color. I am tempted to make them light blue since we have a shawl. Ooh, this is good. There you go. I hope you guys can hear that. So if the power goes out, the way it's supposed to work is our generator will kick in, and I will be dark for about 30 seconds. The phone is charged, so it will keep going and recording. And then if we lose internet, this would not get posted until whenever the internet comes back on, which might be a couple of days. I can probably post it. If cellular service keeps working, I can use my cell data to post it. So I might just do that. So I think I'm pretty good with the rake and the broom. I could go ahead and do some sort of brown for this wrap. I'm actually using the other arm. Normally I lean to the left. I am left-handed. I am tonight leaning to the right. So it will be interesting to see how I feel. Remember, it's all about my back and my hands coloring comfortably. So we will see how this goes. I might be hearing birds chirp out there. That's crazy. Okay, so, and the sound is really dead down here, which is weird because when I sit at my desk, I moved everything out against the wall. I am all prepared for my cubes, which are coming, and our pods are stuck in St. Augustine at the Love's truck stop. I hope they are safe, as I said earlier, and so I have cleaned this space completely out to be able to move in my crafting items from years ago. Whenever they get here, we are going to go empty our pod. We are ready. So that was sort of an extra bonus to this storm, having to need to clean this out for my parents to have kind of their own hangout space. So everybody has plenty of room, and they have their own room. And Bubba, who is the big dog, of all the crazy things, he enjoyed hanging out in the screen room without anybody. He just laid there listening to the wind. Didn't bother him at all. He was out there for a while twice tonight. So we're going to have to remember that. Because this is a dog that had his independence on 5 acres for his whole life. And for the last, I don't know, at least a month, He has been glued to my parents' side. So this is number 114, and you can see I'm distracted and I'm playing with these lower bricks that are a bit on the rough side. I am ready to start the dark shelves, so I already positioned, so I am actually tilted at an angle. Ideally, since I'm left-handed, this is my left hand, I would like to do even more tilting because I want my long strokes to give me that dark wood texture with the wood grain, but I want these to be very dark. I might do most of my work with 114, but if I choose to go back in and put back in some color, and I'm not so interested in having this look like, you know, like knotty pine or something. I want it to be just a dark, aged looking shelf. And then we have these little knobs that are hanging devices, you know, a screw or a nail or something. I'm actually thinking that I can make really good progress and might be able to finish the majority in 2 rather than 4 episodes. What I have to commit to are the pots. Color scheme for the pots. I made extra copies, and now I have here's my draft. So what I will probably do, what I end up doing, I will color darker. These are just sketched, very sketchy, and here's the even lighter wood than I did for the real wood. I will make copies of this, maybe 2 to 3 copies. I will leave this as is because I will want to mock up some color schemes here. One possibility that I am going to try, that I'm not sure, make them all terracotta and take shimmer paint of some variety and paint all these little shapes silver or gold. I can't do copper. If I'm going to try them in terracotta, that is copper enough. The handle can be silver. So that's my plan with the pots. And the pots might not even take, once I decide the planning for it, they might not take all that long to finish. I'm going to set this off to the side. So that's my game plan. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with some darker shades. I think the seeds box is wood right here. I believe it is might be that same wood as the handles and the chair. These handles are quite a bit lighter. See how I'm trying to make it smooth and purposefully not grainy? I'm actually coloring with the side. In fact, I don't know if you can see it. There's the flat mark I have made. I could rotate it and I will get a much sharper, darker color. I am thinking that I will make the screws slash nail heads a gray. See, I went and applied that pretty dark. It was so cute to watch my parents sitting here. I was over at the computer processing the video 266. I keep thinking 246. I might even said 246. This is episode 267, so at the beginning I might have also messed that up. 266 was processed and pushed up today, and that was while my parents were sitting here hanging out, watching the weather. It was still light, and talking about, you know, what are your first things you're going to do with the house once you close, and what things do you want to do in Florida as new Floridians. So they talked about some things. We found out that if you are a resident of Florida, there's a special right now that you can, if you're specifically not Florida, a resident in Brevard County, you can get passes that day. You can go to the counter and buy up to 6 passes for $19 per person. Alternatively, you can buy a season pass for $149. And I hear rumor that at, you know, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, around the Thanksgiving time, that you can buy season passes for around $100. So that is pretty exciting to me. Hub isn't an amusement park person. He did cater to me. In our younger years, I have drugged him all over the United States, going to crazy vacation places, some of which he liked and some he didn't. One of them being a 2-week stay here in Florida, where somebody I knew, his sister worked here in Disney. And so this one is pretty dark. I am happy with that color. There's those copper pots. I'm going to move to this row below it and continue chatting. So we got these hopper passes back in the day for our 10th anniversary-ish. That would have been 24 years ago now. I remember we did Universal Studios for a couple of days, Disney, the different sections of it, over 3 days. We went to Kennedy Space Center for a day. I saw my first alligator from the bus, the tour bus. And we also did a dinner theater. It was in a horse arena, and you know, they have like these different dinner theater places for jousting, or you know, castles, some sort of castle dinner. I can't remember what I would call it. And we did a horse one where they just had horses at liberty and different things like that. Of course, that really was right up my alley, and Hub, he was just humoring me. We all know that. Alright, going in pretty dark. Leaving that highlight in the middle. You can choose to make your highlights like the pots. It's such a long, narrow item, though, that I prefer to do the highlights the opposite direction. So that is what I am choosing to do. I'm trying to get the very edges as dark. This 114 is a very good match to the color of the ink used to print the line art, and so The darker I can get this to make a better match, the better, in my opinion. I went into the room before sitting down to color, and the shutters, the hurricane shutters, are closed, and I could hardly hear the wind out in the room. I was going to just fall asleep and think there's nothing to watch. I'm okay with him not being here because then I can talk and not worry about him being bored or rushing me. There's nothing worse than being rushed when you're coloring. So I find with these browns, you're seeing a little, like even on my tip, I see some crumbs forming. Not a lot. And it's a bit of a dry feeling crumb, almost like I'm scratching some of the pencil pigment off of this very shiny finish paper. Gonna work on the third one now. That one's the easiest one. Looks like it's in the middle of the page. So just in case we do lose power for any length of time, I downloaded season 5 of Northern Exposure. I've probably already told the story that Janine Turner's horse was at my barn, so I knew her, and for whatever reason I never watched the show. I just wasn't a TV person in my younger years. It wasn't my thing, and so I just knew her as a person. I knew her horses, didn't even know they were named after the characters in the show. So silly. It's so funny, the ignorance. I didn't even know that. And it's not like she really talked about the show at all, really. We talked about horses and rode in the arena and did stuff. She had a young horse and a mare, an older mare, that she would ride. That was a long, long time ago. So I'm almost done with that series. Kind of fun to watch it. I know that the horses from the barn, there was a horse trainer that owned the facility, and she actually had a property next door that the person who handled the animals on the show, because it's based in Alaska, and so there was a lot of different animals needed on the episodes, and she handled all that. The neighbor who rented some land next door, but it was owned by the horse trainer. So through that connection, the horses that were on the show, I don't remember them, but they really looked familiar, and the gear that they wore was just typical of what kind of gear that the horses had at the barn and used. So all trips down memory lane. So maybe tomorrow, if we lose power, I will spend some time doing that. I will watch some, and I don't remember if when I was filming the first episode, if I mentioned that everybody was ready. Everyone has tablets, everyone has cell phones, everyone has earbuds. So it actually was really quiet tonight. We weren't up in the living room where the TV is, and nobody was too interested in knowing much about the hurricane, because all of the reports that I had heard and watched earlier in the day said that it was going to make landfall at around 11 to midnight. There were even some tracks that with paths that showed it at as late as 2 in the morning. But as of this morning, the hurricane had not lost strength, and I believe it even had strengthened back to a Cat 5, and it was going along at a good clip at 15 miles an hour. So I got a text from a lady who I moved all of her plants under her port for her. I've been taking care of them. She's been traveling. And she told me, she texted me, she was in Las Vegas and said, hey, the hurricane just made landfall. So that was pretty crazy. And at the time, I reported that there wasn't any real wind to speak of. And sure enough, there's not a ton. I'm seeing the trees and I can hear it kind of gusting here and there, but it's not like people talk, and the news talks about how it's going to howl through your house. And I'm not hearing any howling. I really just hear it in the front of across the front of the windows, which are not glass. They are plexiglass. So it does not sound like glass. All right, so I have 3 darkened shelves. I'm at 39 minutes, I believe. So I think I might switch and let's see if I can remember my color combo. Okay, very nice. The color combo. I should show you. I don't know if you can even see. I have lots of pencils for this. Let's see if will they fit? I probably have 40, maybe, all different colors. And the next color scheme I need to pull would be the greens, the bright greens right here. I've got 3 greens. They're very bright. And this is not a green. That is a gray. Okay, so we're going to take these 3 greens. And I'm going to finish up by doing some leaves so you can watch. I'm going to work on the other side. I'm probably going to rotate my camera. And I can tell that my angle, just going to do some up here. I already have a few bits on the other side, and as homework I will work on finishing these up. The darkest color is 79, middle color is 81, lightest color is 42, and I am holding the book down. I could move the camera farther away if I wanted to, but the way I've got it sitting, I would have to adjust some things to get the stand to move. Again, this feels so big. When I do the leaves, I'm just used to working with such small images that this is a lovely change for me. So if I want these sharper lines for the veining, I just rotated my pencil. These will work down, and so you can easily just rotate, and you can kind of keep the tip sharp if you want, or you can flatten it if for whatever reason you want it flattened. I am switching to the middle tone, and this one is not as sharp, but it is quite bright. the lightest color. Oh, that is not the lightest color. It's 42. So yeah, I did a poll a while back on the brick line work and the vines, whether you wanted to see me color all of it. And I think that the percentage was way higher for seeing the line work, which is very interesting because the views are lower than my coloring videos. So not everyone is interested in line work, but the people who reported, you know, they voted, way more people voted they wanted to see it. And then less people voted for needing to see me. I think I said, no, I don't need to see any more ivy and vines. Yes, I would like to see some, but I don't need to see it all. And then I want to see it all was the third choice. And the percent of I want to see it all was much lower. Than the people who wanted to see it all with the line art. I would not mind a stronger dark green. The Brutfuner has like the typical problems I see with a 120 set, where you may get a few colors that go really dark. You may get a few really interesting light colors, unique ones, but you don't get dark darks of everything or light lights of everything. You need like 150 to 180 sets. And I don't have a lot of sets that are bigger than 180. I only have 2 180 sets, and then I have 2 520s, and only one of those sets do I actually use, and I do love it. And that's the Brutfuner flower boxes. Alrighty, let's do this one. I think I am nearing like 47 minutes or so. Alright, so I have one more episode to do this week of the big. I believe it will be pots if I can iron out my color scheme. And we will see if I get time tomorrow to come up with a game plan. Alternatively, we are starting on boats. The small victories images are going to be boats, and I have a couple of crazy sets to play with. I have the Light Fast yet again, and then I have Prismacolor, which I've spent a lot of time. And I will say, with my parents here and their house just jumping into house hunting, finding a house that they needed to get a negotiated contract finished, I have been too swamped to finish that particular task. I fully expected to have a lot more free time. So what that means is that I am going to have a lot more free time sooner than later, because we will have finished all of the prerequisites and we'll just be waiting to close. Once we close, there will be a whole lot of unpacking to do with our pods. Our pod is already going to get emptied sooner then they're closing, which is mid-November. The house they're buying is, the people are moving to another house in this community, and they're doing painting and such. The painting is being done by a third party, and they won't be able to move any of their stuff in until it's finished. And of course the hurricane is slowing things up a little bit. But they all settled on a date that I think will work for everyone. My parents, being that they're hanging out in my trailer, which is quite small, they would love for it to close ASAP. They're ready. Ready to go. Okay, I could just keep going forever. I know I've used up all my time. I have done those 4 leaves, not quite as many, but I might do a few more after I do. Maybe at the end of each, here's the other one that I did. I will try to get at least like this chunk. I'd like to get this chunk of flower and then a few more leaves around it so that both sides for a balance are done with you. I really think there's this. There's 3 baskets. Well, a box, a basket of some variety, and a wicker basket, a wicker hat, some boots. The boots are going to be a glossy rubber boot, and the pots. I really think that's too much to do in one sitting, but I think I can finish it in 1.5. And then I get to take the color tones and figure out how soft I want to do the brick, which I will do a mock-up of that. So here's what we look like today. We've got 2 sides of the ivy started, the 3 shelves done dark, and the chair, which I finished the other day, and the 2, oh, and all the tools and the canisters and the 2 tools here, the big tools. Not bad, and I'm really loving this paper. Love these Brutfuner pencils. Have I already mentioned how much I love the square shape? They are sitting here on the side of my desk, kind of laying in groups, and they don't roll around, and they're just really nice to work with, and they don't hurt my hands at all, if you were curious. And my hands are very picky. So do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, consider subscribing. I hope everyone is staying safe in the hurricane. I am probably going to head off to bed now. I think it must be sometime after 11. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is technically this episode because I did 2 in one day. So you still will see me tomorrow for you on episode 268. And again, I have not decided whether it's going to be 2 boats using either Prismacolor or the Lightfast 100s, or if I'm going to press on and figure out a game plan for the last little bits of elements on this page. I hope to see you all there.